Sustainable construction. I am Sangeeta Ramaraj. I am the Technical and Innovation Officer of Green Building Council, Nigeria. It is a pleasure to have you all join for the summit as well as the session. The dialogue on green finance is so timely as we confront a lot of climate change that is happening in the country. And as we continue to shape our urban landscapes, the question is no longer why we need green buildings or like how we fund it into an actionable projects. We have our technically sound panelists here to take us through a practicable and replicable strategies that inspire us in tapping financial resources that is available in Nigeria for us to get into it. First, I would like to welcome architect Olajumoke Akuni, co-founder and CEO of Alithia. Yes. She's a seasoned architect and an investment advisor and an urban reformer with over 30 years of experience spanning from real estate finance and policies. A co-founder and CEO of Atilia. She's accompanied gender inclusive and sustainably focused investment across Africa. Her public service includes tenure as Managing Director of Family Fund Homes and her Head of State Housing Agency and Bureau of Lands. I welcome you, ma'am. I would like to welcome the next panelist, Real Estate.
In the marketplace, I think there's been a few green bonds successfully oversubscribed. I'm not sure that I have seen green mortgages yet, but there's a huge scope for that. As a matter of fact, any form of financing that is available in the traditional marketplace can actually be replicated. This is a more holistic approach to investing in a manner where there are predictable environmental outcomes alongside financial returns. So I touched on green mortgages, for example, would be where the product to buy is being designed and built green.
That needs to be addressed. Don't forget that housing and construction contributes up to 47% of the carbon footprint, which means that if you decide you want to go into massive housing production, you're going to have a huge carbon footprint at some point. And then you also consider that Nigeria is projected to hit 400 million people in population by 2050, which means you're adding about half them. Are you going to go into massive housing construction that has global carbon implications, that you can already see the impacts that even from the financial angle, the cost of funding, you end up, shooting yourself in the foot. But guess what? Green finance, climate finance.
How do you access these financial incentives when it comes to sustainable buildings? Because I believe the accessibility is one of the things that private sectors are reach.
Thank you very much. I think the accessibility angle has to also consider the policy outlook and substance, structure. We need a clear policy, and that policy has to understand that this is a long-term stuff. Green finance, green building requires support by government. We look at it from immediate benefit to the sector, the housing or whatever. But if you look at it as a complete, life, so to speak, in terms of health benefit, reduction in expenditure by government in health, transportation, infrastructure, and so on. I think it will make more sense to government to actually have deliberate policy to support green, building. So in terms of accessibility, I'm not surprised that people, organizations are struggling to actually meet, to actually access, because the policy framework to support them in accessing, to prepare the ground for them, we don't have it yet. And I'm not saying that the government is not making effort. Globally, this is a new phenomenon. And I think in 2021, the entire green bond that was actually issued all over the world was just a bit over half a trillion US dollars. And that is, in the scheme of things, that is still small. But if you look at the progression, in 2020 it was about 400. In 2021 it came to over I think about 518 billion. So we are slowly getting there. But the point actually is that we need to, just I used to say that even in our housing sector, the conventional housing sector, we still lack clear policy in terms of how to address our challenges, our problems, and then government's role. And the same thing we are carrying to the green building area, and it's not going to help. So that's why I'm so glad about this organization. But we need to start on the right footing by letting people know policy is very important. Government is key. There is no way the private sector can do it alone. Private sector progress, in this area depends on clear government policy, and that policy must be a policy to support the deliberate support of the green project. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would like to ask Mr. George on investors often ask about the return of investment, the ROI for the projects when it is being submitted. So what are the short-term as well as the long-term financial benefits of investing in green buildings? Because the investors, at last, I think they bring in money and they wanted to see it as a business that actually enfolds money, and it has to be sounding not only in money perspective, the other growth of the perspectives. So how do we actually assess this ROI?
All right. So first, there's a very good example of some green building projects in Nigeria that actually command higher rent than normal within the places they are located. So on that basic level, it's already proven that if you invest in a green building, the tendency is that you'll be able to get a decent ROI on your investment. Well, let's look at it in terms of the other opportunities in increasing ROI. Most of the inputs are actually designed in such a way that they have a long are relatively very low, because incurs significant increases in your operational maintenance. I like to use the word de-risking, or about the infrastructure cost is about 25 to 30% of the cost of the building. So imagine if you're able to run it as a service over an extended period. What also means that your initial inputs are relatively smaller than normal in the Nigerian context. And then you're able to recover your costs over a shorter period of time and over a wider selection of markets. So in practical terms, if you're able to remove infrastructure and finance infrastructure differently from the building, it means that if you finance a green district, for example, then you have a green building that can sit on it. In financing that green building, you already have a low cost, more access easy access to more finance. So for an investor, it means that you're able to get your returns out fast, get a decent ROI from the certificates you generate. So it's important to explain this because it's a value chain that if you invest in, it keeps on giving you value over an extended period of time. So you and then you live to take care of. There's attendant costs, operational costs, maintenance costs that begin to eat into whatever returns you're supposed to make on that investment. So for me, the ROI issue is something that I don't think should be much of a debate, because along the value chain, there are significant savings that can be made once you're able to tap into the green finance space. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to ask architect Jumoke about the same.
That small scale or large scale, the sum total is that it is not, we don't look at the asset from the perspective of all the other things. I mean, there's some benefits that you can quickly equate to money, and then there's some that you can't. For example, there's no building is certified green, carries a certain prestige about it. How to value that? Maybe in some ways down the line we'll be able to put a value to it. But sum total of what I'm saying is that the approach has to be education. The way that we do the financials for projects has to change. It's not the conventional way. At the same time, I think when we talk about education, even the financial services people, the financial sector does need an education to understand how to price and value.
My next question is to Mr. Along on existing national and subnational financial instruments. Is there any existing, you to throw some light on it so people can actually have a say on it and access it, like the green bonds?
I think that's probably the green bond is actually the only visible success so far in Nigeria. And you see, I said earlier, this is created. It's just like the real estate investment trusts that was actually birthed in early 2000 and Exchange Commission. The law is there, but the point actually is what has actually followed that law. You need to support or assist people, organizations, to not just the developer, not just the contract. Developer is lower cost of development, right? And everybody benefits. But the point actually is we need to establish that nexus. And the point is in terms of the green loan, which as far as I'm concerned is probably not existent yet in this country. It's not just for, you see, loan, you cannot say you want to planning, to design, to construction, to operation and maintenance. You need funding at each of those, stages. And where loans actually become very important is especially in the operation and maintenance. You understand the point? Because at that point, you already have an investment, regular revenue coming in. So you can afford to actually have it for a short time and then, but this have to be understood even by you see, we make a lot of mistakes by thinking that our bankers they know everything. No, they don't. I'm telling you the truth. I have a lot of them as friends. They don't. And the point actually is, it is high time. That's why I will encourage this body to engage all the professionals within the built environment to come together, this is going to be a major breakthrough for us. So in terms of funding, to be honest with you, I don't think we are doing great yet. I don't have the statistics, but I know the only one that I can see physically is that, green bond. The loan not existing, I'm not sure the banks are even thinking of it, because you can't be thinking of green loan for construction, for development, except you are looking at it as bridge finance. But in terms of green mortgage, again, that will have the same problem that the conventional mortgage system has, except like I said, I've said this, I've had opportunity to sit down with the finance minister, with people in government, and I've told them that, look, we need, just like any other, responsible jurisdiction, we need a document to actually show our housing policy. It will show us what we are aspiring to be, how we will get there, where we are now, so that we can actually, and it will encompass finance, and the green finance will be there and everything. So I think we are not doing greatly yet, but it's an opportunity. Like Dr. Ali said, I don't believe that problems, they are challenges. I think in every challenge that you face, there's an opportunity there. And where we are in the green stage in this industry, there is a lot of opportunities there for us, and I think we should be ready to take them up. And I think, again, like I said, we need to take education and awareness of people very seriously, and not just the masses or even those in government. A lot of them, we mystify them. We think that, but if you get close to them, they also want help, and some of them are very honest. They want that help. So I think that is where
That actually puts me to the other question on the seek of knowledge, or the lack of knowledge, I would say. So do you think these green certifications like LEED or Griha or BREEAM, can they help us in bridging those gaps?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
should it go beyond the people?
Make it work. You see, and I think then we may be waiting for. Look at the Sangatis. Is actually to collect rainwater and then to recycle across the chain. Then you will marvel. So we need to start it as a life cycle, and then look at the benefits along that life cycle, and then at each of the value chain, what are you getting? So this is something that we need to do. Unfortunately, there was where our office is now, the NDPAC building. When we built, that was my project. When we developed that building, we didn't have this idea. We will have actually incorporated some elements of green there, and it will have actually been huge. If I tell you, I manage that property. If I tell you how much we spend on diesel alone in a year, on the average in a month, we pay the case for green. And I think this is the country is ready for it, to be honest with you. It's just for us to put this the various
puzzles together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Architect Jumoke, I also on that.
I kind of have a different approach to the issue of standardization. As somebody who has gone through getting an education, but I find that the real issue is not so much the professionals in the industry, it's the parties. And you're absolutely right. I worked in the public service for a while, and one of the things that I came out of after 6 years was we really all need, those of us who are in the private sector, the education that is required needs to come from institutions like this, not from the certification. The certification is a good to have. I put it at the end of my name. edge expert, but that's not really what is going to help us. I think what would help us also, if we're speaking to financiers, we have to ventilation, size of openings, type of material that's being used for the walls. It doesn't have to be all this, some of this really fun going to be able to use the policy that we want. You see, all of us here, we're going to write the policy, then we have to take to engage government until we get the buy-in that we need from them. Thank you.
What do you think?
Are you putting me on the spot?
Yes. we are going to bring actionable solutions.
And yeah, in our spaces, that sector players like ourselves, we need to get together and find a friendly financier, because at the end of the day, they're really small pilot projects. But more than that, it pounded yam, and then 1 year later we come as if we're just seeing everything for the very first time. So we all need to find, the simple reason for that is because I'm afraid that, having had a season in government, that I am not so sure that you can specifically say something. I do not think it is. In India, the government decided that fast network for trains, so I always think to myself.
Or Dr. Annie, do you have any policy
suggestions? Like, because there's no flow of air, one extracting else, making their business. Where you see houses coming up, you already see the roads. You already, and most times it's never an input provide this think tank. And I must say this, wake up call.
But benefit. If we do that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We're gonna. I will open the floor for questions.
I just want to talk very difficult being an adult. China, where this do not even want truth. Again, we also need to find a way to make our environment enabling. Look at Kenya, look at Rwanda. If you are the investor, will you invest yourself? Thank you. As it is right now.
Sorry.
Thank you. Good afternoon, speakers, and good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to appreciate Dr. George, a familiar face, for the efforts from Family Home Funds. Firstly, before I ask a question, I would like to share a very quick story of 2 minutes of my trip on green building to India. I have experienced green transportation, green cooking system, slept in a green building, certified, and I mean the experience.
So I believe the question was answered earlier that we cannot use international rating bodies to Nigeria because it doesn't make sense, because it's not for the climate condition. So that's why we partnered with the German green building rating tool called DNGB, where we trying to localize
provision for the green component and so on. That was never there. So whether that will be available now, or you need to adapt or convert and so on, may mean losing revenues. So it's a whole complex. I think it is much better. I mean, I give an example. If it is my personal residence, our chairman, for instance, has gone off the grid for the past 5 years. You know, he has his solar inverter, whatever. The entire building, the whole compound is powered, you know, by solar and inverter and whatever. But that is his own personal. There is no financial consideration involved. But when you talk about, I mean, you know, NDPAC building, you know how huge it is. And you want to take such decision, and a government establishment, for instance, you need to justify why you're doing that. So it's much better to start, you know, from the beginning. And I did the issue of certification that you said that you mentioned the other time. The certification I actually alluded to is not individual certification. It's actually the structure certification as green. You know, that is more important than, you know, paper, whatever. So that's what, because I heard architect Jumoke say, I agree with you completely. But certification will actually help even in the finance, whatever. And then in terms of your investment analysis and so on, it will also help you, because you know that you have to be one-on-one with conventional and green building. You will have better returns, definitely. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say something very quickly in response to your question. This is where, when we start talking about government policy, this is where I think eventually we may get there. But there's some countries who have a policy to encourage retrofitting. Having seen the huge benefits that a green environment generates, and so there is actually funding for retrofitting. It comes at less than market rate. It has other terms that make it interesting. So even an investor, like your building, which you're thinking, oh my goodness, we have to shut it down and so on, there might be some fund somewhere who accounts for all of that kind of thing, just so that you can get your building retrofitted. But we're a very long way away from that. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Sorry, I just want to also add to that. I actually liked your question. So like Architect Jumoke said, there are funds for retrofitting. But really, greening your building, we keep on making it sound like it's some rocket science. It's really not. There are some basic things you can do. So, for example, they have faucets that they make these days that when you turn them on, they seem to be giving you a lot of pressure. But the water savings is huge, because there's a mechanism inside that turns that little pressure of water that comes into something fast. And it's not an electrical thing, it's just a set of pressure. Yes, the flushing our toilets using the water from the same source of water we drink. We really shouldn't. Why can't we recycle the water flushed from the toilet to flush the toilet? Yeah, it's greening. There's a huge problem we are facing with the indiscriminate borehole drilling going on in the country. It's as simple as just getting bigger windows, because bigger windows mean more light into your buildings, which means you may not need all these bulbs on at the same time, which means you save money on electricity. Can be allowed to take place. And that's why when I mentioned starting from where you land, they are very spread thinly. I mean, a lot of us, when you are flying from Lagos to Abuja, I think by the time you leave there are certain places, and that's where the problems taking a facility is there. Your water savings.
To encourage people to retrofit, they brought it, and at the beginning it was free. People have already spent money conventionally, and they are waiting to be getting their return on investment. To come and shut down, it's going to be difficult. Thank you.
Please, your question.
Yes, please. My name is Andrew. Just things like construction material choices, the finishes, even the layout finishes and things like that. So what has the GBCN done? Energy efficient and things like that, and leave it at that. The bulk of the design of the buildings we have in this country and in Africa as a whole are not cannot be considered that. So the stakeholders like yourself, the panelists, and GBCN specifically, what have they done to create awareness to re-engineer the society such that when people will want to request new homes or new buildings or things like that, they will really understand that yes, green building is possible and it's quite cheap.
Okay, so it goes back to education awareness. I don't know that we can throw everything on the Green Build Council. I think we have a responsibility as people who are educated, have skills, and who develop our skills and upgrade to be the voice for something that necessarily protects the environment. I mean, just the fact that we who are in this space and work in this sector are the culprits behind, if all the statistics are right, are the culprits behind the majority of the environmental issues that happen in our environment, should give each one of us a little bit of sleepless nights. And we do need to train ourselves if that's what we need. And then in addition to that, we need to be able to train or teach the people that we come in contact with. I think the NIA has a role to play. So if as an architect, that should be on the agenda of the NIA. The NIA have some session, I think it's at the beginning of next month. I don't know if sustainability is on the table there. It should be.
We know how to design green architecture.
Yes.
So we know how to design green architecture as architects.
Yes.
But the market decides these things. Like the panelists, the other session, he was trying to describe clients want something basic, modern architecture.
I mean,
picking a reference picture on Pinterest that happens to
I
be
hear
from
you,
Sweden
and
or somewhere.
I hear you, but maybe this is where we need, people like, who will help me, Adeshokumbi,
Yeah.
to come here, because you can't tell me that you see his architecture and you think that it is rubbish. There's no client who will. It is what he says to them that translates to what he's able to do. And so that's we need to take this on ourselves. And if we're talking about green build,
By the time they start seeing all this information, they start looking for it. So there should be like a press release or maybe something.
No, there will be a program brochure after this which encapsulated all the discussions that we make, a rapporteuring session that will encapsulate it, and the program will be printed and will be shared. The next question, please.
I'm very vocal on LinkedIn.
Please go ahead. Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Onomiraku Toyama by name, a 200-level student of estate management in University of Abuja. My question is, what are the long-term impact of green finance in the real estate sector?
In houses or buildings, there's also the maintenance construction. There are a lot of cheaper technologies, green-friendly technologies that are able to deliver inputs will be minimized because you're able to develop buildings faster and all that. Imagine if it takes you 1 month to develop that. Importantly, because you can create cheaper, people can access finance better. It opens up opportunity for them to access finance to get those houses. So the impact on real estate, especially with the opportunities we have in Nigeria, is very, very, very interesting in the housing sector. But let me just say this. Green finance in our own
student, right? So just imagine this. Today, if you were to build and you were building conventionally, you go to a bank, finance bank. That money is concessional because the people who have put that money in there, the investors or the providers of the capital, are thinking beyond a financial return source, or at least to blend it with what you get from the commercial source. So for me, that is the biggest. And he mentioned something about standardization. This is something else that green will do for us from the perspective of the developer, the efficiency that we currently lack in the developer sphere in this country.
Good afternoon. Is in charge of Greenborn, and also which agency?
Link certification answer. The first question was link certification answer. The first question was which agency?
The truth of the matter is there is no hard and fast rule about who can fast rule about who can create a green bond depending on size? Who can create a green bond depending on size? Yes.
Bring green bond private.
Yep. Thank you.